and it's time for some Monday motivation. And we have author and speaker Utulani Yeye Gumede, who spoke very beautifully last week about bitterness.
Siswami ngiyabingelela kuwe kuyintokozo futhi ukuba la ekhaya ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Bongatina. Last week you spoke very profoundly about bitterness. What it clouds your judgment, what it pollutes, your heart.
That's correct.
And you're missing out on your blessing. Like,
sure.
Why God are you doing this for this and this
That's
person?
Correct.
Right?
That's correct. Yes.
But this week you have about struggles and setbacks and pain.
That's
using
correct.
It
yes.
for your own benefit and growth. Talk to us.
No, ngiyabonga kakhulu siswami. Ngicabanga ukuthi sikulula ukuthi kube khona abantu abathile sibakhohlwayo masikhuluma ngemotivation, kanti ngiyakholela ukuthi motivation icover onke ama-aspect empilo, yabona le ukuze siye phambili singabantu khona nabantu othola ukuthi babanjwe yinkinga ababhekene nazo. So namhlanje bengifutha sibe ne-perspective ukuthi kulowo muntu obhekene neyinkinga nama-challenges, how do we move forward, yabona le sezinya namhlanje angizuba kakhulu philosophically eyintweni enjengalezo nokuzama ukuletha ama-answer because angikholelwa ekutheni sisuke sinawo ama-answer eyintweni esisuke sidlula kuzo isikhathi esiningi. You find ukuthi uNkulunkulu usuke nendlela noma usuke nesystem asuke ephe kwayo kodwa uthola ukuthi akabatshenile abantu asuke be-involved, So uthola ukuthi kulama pain and suffering and struggles we will find ourselves seba nama-questions amaningi ukuthi why this thing yenzeka kumina noma why ngidlula entweni enjengalena, and most of the times uNkulunkulu uyayangawasha ama-answers ukuthi the reason why you are going through this is because of ABC. So the reason why ngilana namhlanje is not to give answers kulezo zinto, but is to help somebody who's going through pain and suffering to know ukuthi kwi-pain and suffering there are three things that we need to understand about pain and suffering. And I strongly feel ukuthi once uba ne-perspective yalezi zinto eziwu-3 engizoyichaza kuba lula kuwena ukuthi ukwazi ukubekezelela lezi zinto odlula kuzo. Izinto eziwu-3 masithi sibuka i-pain and suffering, one of the things evelayo ukuthi masidlula kwi-pain and suffering, God tends to reveal himself with pain and suffering. Abantu abadlula kwi-pain and suffering obhekene neyinkinga njengamanje masikhuluma ngo-pain and suffering, komunye umuntu kuzoba i-retrenchment, uxoshiwe emsebenzini, komunye ukuhletshwa, komunye i-divorce, komunye ukushonelwa uthandiweyo wakhe, komunye nje ukuthi emphakathini uthathekele phansi, that thing causes pain kuwena. But one of the things engifuna ukuyiveza ukuqala ukuthi there's something about pain and suffering ukuthi God reveals himself. Umuntu odlula enkingeni njengamanje ngifuna ukuyiveza lento. Uma sifunda iBhayibheli, one of the things that is amazing about uJobe ukuthi uNkulunkulu, I remember the first time since I was reading uJobe, I struggled with that book because ekugcineni when God reveals himself, I expected him to apologize to Job ukuthi I'm sorry Job ukuthi ngikuvumele wadlula enkingeni ekanje, but God does not do that. Instead of that, God asked him questions ukuthi do you know ukuthi ngubani mina? Ubani owasibekela lo mhlaba? Umbuza onke these questions God is asking uJobe so that uJobe will understand who God is. Yabo lento le. Umuntu odlule inkingeni njengamanje, one of the things ezibaluleke kakhulu is for you to remember who God is. Siyambona futhi ulento lena uJosepha umedlule inkingeni, ulahlwa abafowabo azadayiswa as a slave eseya elento lena eGibhithe. Uma efika eGibhithe usebenza emzini kaPotifa, bamqambela amanga, uphindele ejele, uphila impilo ebuhlungu. But one of the things that the Bible says, lithi nakuba uJosepha wedlula kuzo zonke lezo zinto, God was with him, So enye into engifisa ukuyichaza namhlanje emntwini odlule inkingeni ezithile is for you to remember ukuthi even in that void osukukuyo noma kulawo ma-questions osukuwabuza because of the problems that you are faced with, enye izinto ebaluleke kakhulu is for you to remember ukuthi uNkulunkulu unawe kuleso simo. And when we go through those things, sibuza ama-questions because we believe ukuthi uma siseyinkingeni God should come instantly ezosideliver, kanti uNkulunkulu at times will be with you in the problems but angawaletha ama-solutions at that time. But he is a solution. Omunye umuntu ulele esibhedlela njengamanje uyayibuza ukuthi kungani nginobuhlungu obungapheli. But in that thing, God reveals himself, and I pray that he reveals himself even to you. Okwesibili ngifisa sikubheke, whenever we go through our challenges and suffering, there's this thing that God tends to do. He reveals us to ourselves. He reveals us to ourselves. Yabona, every time ngidlule inkingeni, one of the things engiyifundile ukuthi every time ngisey'inkingeni uNkulunkulu khona izinto abanokuyiveza ngami uqobo. And enye izinto siswami mangathiwa ngiya-recapha njengamanje, I've seen uNkulunkulu reveal even my heart to me because of the challenges I'm faced with. Mhlasimpe uxoshiwe emsebenzini, but the way you react ngakhona reveals a lot about you, you know. And one of the things uNkulunkulu asengiribhikhe kakhulu ngayo, it's how I respond to situations, you know. At times sabazalwane sithola sesiba nempondo, we're trying to be defensive, sesilwa nabantu where we are supposed to let God take irole yakhe njengoNkulunkulu. And uma sibuka kakhulu iBhayibheli likhuluma kakhulu ngeimpondo ukuthi impondo is not a good thing because uNkulunkulu sibiza ngama-sheep. We are sheep and God is our shepherd. We need to depend again. Khona umuntu njengamanje usenkingeni and itest yakhe akukhona ukuthi uNkulunkulu ukulahlile, but uNkulunkulu ufuna ukubona ukuthi kule nkinga odlula kuyo, are you going to be able to trust him, you know. Uphumule ekutheni ubulodwa uyidefender ulwa nabantu, khona abantu okungafanele ulwe nabo, but you just need to have that thing ukuthi ukhumbule who God is, and then you trust him kuleyo process where everybody is lying about you, abanye basemajele kungafanele, but in that thing for you to remember who God is, going through pain and suffering, he will reveal himself and he will reveal you to yourself. The last one, pain and suffering, what pain and suffering does, iyasirivelela nabantu esisuke sindabo, you know. Yes. There are people who sukuhamba nabo distance and up until you go through pain and suffering, and then you get to, you know, God gets to reveal ukuthi nampa abantu hlezi uhamba nabo utshena ukuthi nisendaweni right, and then he reveals them to you. So namhlanje, that's all I needed to share. Pain and suffering iyimbi injalo, but there's a lot that the pain and suffering does ekureveleni izinto. Firstly, who God is in our lives. Secondly, about izimo isikuzo even in our hearts, where God comes through and reveal ourselves so that we can see how far we are from him. And then lastly, iyona-ke lento ngichaza manje, abantu samba nabo, even God can reveal them through ipain esuke esidlula kuyo. Ngiyabonga.
How's this